starches in rices and things like that into other things. And so now it's, even if you want to get a normal population sample, it's like, well, normal from where? Because whether you're from China or the United States, you're going to have a completely different microbiome just because your diet and culture is so different. So it might change based on where you're from.
Or if I were to move somewhere, I would probably, hopefully, adapt to what I can eat.
Right, and you might have kind of a, well, especially like you go to India, right? So you might have an upset stomach because you're just changing. You're changing what you're putting in there.
Yeah, so you probably know what traveler's sickness is. Yeah. A good way to combat that is just take Pepto-Bismol for the first couple days when you're traveling. And for some reason, just sort of disrupting your gut with Pepto-Bismol helps you not have traveler's sickness because your body's able to adapt to whatever you're now eating in your new environment, because even the stuff that's just in the air can be different depending on where you go.
Okay, sorry. Well, yeah.
I feel like we're moving a little bit in this direction, but just to open it up a little bit more philosophical, like opinion question for everybody. Through your work and your research with microorganisms and things like that, touching on the fact that so much of our DNA and so many of our cells come from things that are not technically us. To what extent, if any, has that influenced your personal conceptions and feelings about things like identity or like the border between self and other? And like, has that changed the way that you think or feel about those concepts?
So I can say I feel like the same person before knowing all this and after knowing all this. Well, I mean, not exactly the same because time passed, but yeah, like there's interesting stuff. Even the transcription that happens is influenced by what microbes you have in your gut. So everything from start to finish is influenced by your entire being, and that includes your viruses, your bacteria, and everything else that's going on in and around you. Yeah. So I still feel like a person philosophically, even though I know all that's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, it brings a whole new meaning to like the royal we. Yeah. I've toyed with the idea of like calling myself a we before, just because I know about all this. But I feel like that'd be a little bit pompous, because people will be like, oh, he thinks he's like a royal person. No, I just acknowledge I have tons of microbes inside of me, and I want to respect every one of them.
Certainly, in some weird sense, we are just giant colonies of organisms living together that make us. And what you philosophically make of that, I guess, is up to each of you. But I think it's kind of freaking cool. I don't know.
I think it does a lot to blur the lines between individuals and this kind of idea of being a separate entity, because everything I touch, I transfer my microorganisms to. Or even, for example, in households that have dogs, the people in that household have more similar skin microbiomes and gut microbiomes, just because that dog is transferring bacteria all around the house. Right? So it's like if you, like, there are 2 cats living in my house, right? So if you come over to my house and you pet Tia or Levi, or no, there's 3. So if you pet any of the cats, okay, good, she's not in here. The cat's not in here, so
the cat's out of the bag.
The cat was in the bag, or maybe it's Schrodinger's
superposition.
In the bag after that. But anyway, yeah. So if you come over to my house and you pet the cat, you're kind of now you're infected with my microbiome, and I'm a healthy person, I hope. So congratulations. But yeah, so I think even within this room or within this convention, right, we all come together, and we often think about the idea of the spread as like the outbreak, so like the Ebola spread or whatever. But right now, like the spread's going on, the outbreak's going on, but it's microorganisms that are kind of innocuous, right? They're not really hurting us as far as we know so far. So yeah, welcome to the experiment, I guess.
What happens when your cat is an outside cat?
Oh. Yeah. You are everybody.
Whether you want to be or not. But there's actually some interesting research that showed that the spouses, when they live with each other more and exchange more microbes, will slowly develop more similar microbiomes. So even just the people that you were hanging around with and, exchanging things with, may also influence your microbiome.
Things, yes. was hoping that they're not exchanging with their pets.
So on that subject, kind
He means petting them, right?
on that subject of sort of looking like your pets, they've done some analysis of couples that have been together for over 20 years, and they have similar facial features, even though when you're born, your faces shouldn't really look that alike, and the reason for that is just you make the same expression, you pick up on people's mannerisms, and they think that that's actually fueling the way muscles are shaped in the face and things like that. So if you look at your spouse in 20 years and are like, you kind of look like me more than you used to, there's a reason for that.
It's only made to love myself.
All right, last question.
So I know there's segments of DNA that have before kind of been termed junk DNA, where we don't really know what they're doing about it, and that maybe they're actually having some impact on, how things function in the body. Is there a possibility that the study of the microbiome can kind of start to get us to understand these new segments of DNA?
It's actually really interesting that you mentioned that. There's another project going on. The name escapes me, but the people who are behind the Human Genome Project have actually started a new project where they're like, okay, we have the genome, let's figure out what all the genes do now. And so I definitely think that with the Human Microbiome Project combined with like that new project, soon enough, by soon enough I mean soonish, and like, in terms of like Half-Life 3 soonish, we'll finally get to know what the junk DNA actually is, and like what it's doing.
So one of the professors at ASU used to work on the Human Genome Project, and I don't know exactly what he's doing now, but one of the things I was talking about with him is that junk DNA, and we're finding out that actually has a lot to do with transcription. So whatever junk DNA you have with you, and you've carried throughout, well, your parents had, your grandparents had, because it comes down to you, that can influence the way that the percentage of proteins you're making because of those transcription factors and regulations. So it still has an influence, we're finding out, even though we thought that a huge percentage of what is coding us was just useless.
Yeah, this doesn't have anything necessarily to do with microbiome, but just in general, the term junk DNA is another one of those things that the media picks up on and spreads everywhere. And the reality is that very few scientists have thought or have ever thought that the majority of DNA really does nothing. Though there is definitely a portion of DNA where the function is very much unknown, and there probably is some of it that maybe does do nothing or whatever, but a lot of it is regulatory and has effects on other genes, even if it in and of itself is not a gene.
Yeah, I always maybe this is oversimplifying it, but I think of we have like the exon, right? That's supposed to be the thing that's expressed, right? And we have the introns, the thing that's just like, well, what's it they're doing there, But it's like these are think of the thing that's expressed as the useful DNA, and you think of all the junk, right? Those are like the volume knobs, right? So you can turn a gene up, you can turn it down, you can mute it, you can play, pause, whatever, right? So those are very, very important if, when you consider the complexity of us as multicellular organisms and all the different things that we have to do and regulate, right? And like bacteria, they don't have those. They don't have those introns, right? They don't have that junk or whatever.
But at the same time, there's DNA that just gets duplicated. There's viruses that infect us and they just put their DNA inside of our DNA. And maybe it's not energetically efficient or something to like maybe it's not providing so much of a burden on us that there's any evolutionary pressure to actually get rid of it. So maybe we are just full of a bunch of weird viruses and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, a lot of that junk, a lot of what could be in there is maybe, a lot of the important stuff that makes us human, right? Who knows?
Yeah, and just like to close a little artsy remark for the philosophy guy, actually, think about it this way. Like, if you have a monkey banging on a typewriter, right, you just have a bunch of like jumbled letters, right? But some artist at some art school is probably going to see that and be like, this has so much meaning. This is what I want to read my entire life. Junk DNA is still DNA. It still has a sequence of base pairs. And it could actually do something that we don't really care about, and no one really cares about.
Or maybe it's just raw material that could become a new gene in the future.
Yeah, you could like cut the monkey typewriter page and like make like a beautiful thing if you wanted to, But like all DNA has some kind of function.
Remember, one of the most expensive paintings ever sold was by Jackson Pollock. So
that's true.
Do you really no longer painting elephants?
All the love in the world.
Well, actually, she used colors that she'd seen prominently that day, so.
Very cool.
Nice.
Okay, so we're going to hang out for a few minutes, but that concludes the panel. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Don't forget if you would like your poop napped.